tiny little point for cutting out the door, and everybody wants to cut out the door. Just nip the end off a junior hacksaw blade, the end with the nib on. Then it is nipped off, and what you get is a very thin and narrow blade that you can dig a hole, slot in, and then use to cut a nice square edge for cutting out your door, like that. And I've made a pull saw. So before you nip the end off, look at which way the teeth are pointing, so you make a push saw, because in the UK we're very much more used to pushing and cutting. Mine cuts on the pull because I've chopped off the opposite end to what I really wanted to chop off. Not to worry, I can push it through from behind and pull it, push it, whatever I do. Just to show you how quick and easy the cut is with what would normally be considered a tenon saw for cutting wood. It gives a lovely straight line. The blade is quite fine, so you only get a narrow slot. There we go. The Dremel tool is just used to cut a deep enough slot to be able to get the junior hacksaw blade in, and then once that's cut we can complete the rest of the cut across the top with the junior hacksaw blade, and then right up into the corners here with the junior hacksaw blade. Right, more or less complete. What I did was cut the plastic L or channel or whatever it was, which was provided as a ridge piece for that, into sections to use as ridge tiles. There's a gap there. However, the other thing I note is that if you want to use both buildings together, then there's a gap between the two buildings, and so in order to get them to be flush up, what you would probably have to do is saw the overhang of the roof off, because there is an overhang of those roof sections. The thick, you definitely do need the thick cyano, because you need some gap filling property with it. The chimney, well, it's not a close fit onto the roof, and so only in a couple of spots will the super glue be attaching it, so it would be useful to fill that and make something that looks like a little bit of flashing, and in some areas you get cement flashing, so a bit of something around there that looks like flashing would reinforce the chimney. Also it would reinforce the other chimney as well. That's something I can do, put some flashing in place. The only other thing is, tell me what you think, but I painted the door and the door jambs the same colour, except for the doors I tried to paint with different coloured panels. There's only one door I did that to, on the back there, and I don't think it looks so good. So the pictures show the door frame painted in the cream colour and the door in the crimson colour. So it's crimson and cream, it's my colour scheme. I do have a bench to paint, and I fancy painting that green. It's shown brown in the pictures. But that's it as far as I've got at the moment. But it's almost ready to put out. I've not glazed it, and there's the interior to do. Okay, so it's at a stage now where I'm happy to just leave it for now and think about other detailing aspects, and maybe touching up the stonework and all sorts of little things like that, but more or less completely built with the doors to be hung. But that will happen once I've considered what I'm going to do with the interiors. So there we have it. the couple of buildings to make a station which has some UK outline style to it. Thank goodness for these independent people producing these things. Total cost of this approximately £100 for both buildings, and of course they can be used separately on your layout in two different positions if you wanted. It is a minor thing, but I did have to think about the height at which these are glued in order that when they're mounted or placed together on the layout, you get something that looks like a continuous canopy. So that was a little consideration, and they're placed at that much above the windows and door line and just below the ridge of that. Maybe it's fairly obvious, but I just did have to think about where this one was going to go and then that one to make sure they were both at the same height.